and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this meeting, a chapter of the Tao Te Ching is discussed every week as to how it relates to recovery. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I'm excited about some changes you're going to see in the Tao of Our Understanding podcast. You'll primarily see two changes. First, since we finished all 81 chapters of the Tao Te Ching, we're going to branch out into other spiritual literature to discuss. First, discussing the writings of Lao Tzu, a well-known student of Lao Tzu. Secondly, I've mentioned my sponsee, Zach E. from time to time in the podcast. With his permission, we're starting to record some of our meetings to distribute as additional podcasts. This podcast is one of those meetings. I hope you enjoy.
Hey, am I sideways?
You mean figuratively or physically?
Yeah.
Finished my 12-step meditations this morning.
Oh, that's good.
Finally.
Good.
Man, you don't know how much work that has been.
Good.
I mean, unbelievable amount of work. I mean, I have on the site right now, there's 393 meditations.
Wow. That's a lot. I'm
fixing to add another, the 12th step, which will be 27 more. So I'll have over 400. Well, so I'm averaging about 700 downloads a month, and I've already had 600 for May, but I haven't done any promotion.
Yeah.
It's just every time I go to record it, just something comes out during the meditation. Like I was talking to Carl, that Sober Pod, about it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, why don't you get someone with a more pleasant voice to record it for you, that kind of a thing. And I was like, it doesn't work because it's my experience. So, I mean, in the middle of it, it's not like I can read a script and say, talk about this and this and this. It just comes out. Like in the Tao meeting, like when we talk, Same kind of thing. Somehow it's our experience that comes out in it. It's not possible, but I'm getting good reviews. Someone locally tell me it sounded pretty hickish, of course, because of my voice, but some people like it. So
maybe it's true. I wouldn't argue with somebody about what I sounded like, but because it's them hearing me. But on the other hand, sometimes I wonder if, especially around here, some of that's just like them being self-conscious,
Yeah. And my English is not that great. I mean, I do end sentences with prepositions all the time and stuff like that. I've just accepted I sound like I sound, and if people like it, they like it. They don't, think fuck off. I don't care. They can fuck off if they don't like my meditations.
Yeah, that's what you should have named the app that.
I called it Sober Meds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the short that pops up. I thought that was pretty good. It is Sober Meds.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So now I've got to get some updates on that, get the rest of these produced and up. Then I'm going to start talking to all my podcast buddies and try to get on podcasts to start promoting it, for lack of a better word, making people aware of it, because you're not supposed to promote recovery stuff.
Oh.
Make others aware of what's available. One donation to help support it, $5 a month, which is good.
Oh, nice.
My wife's excited. She said, how can you make money off this? I said, well, she doesn't understand, And so I'm like, well, she said, you put all this time into it. Why can't you make money off of it? Why are you doing things that don't make money?
It's like, you got $5 a month. Let me have it. Thank you.
She's been good, though, about now I've got to get on to business. Now I'm starting, as soon as I get these finished, business from this point forward and I think it's time to get some money generating. What's going on with you?
Oh, I don't know. Just trying to figure it out.
How much are you working now?
Well, so for May, instead of doing our regular hours, we're doing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, of which I work Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, it is like, I kind of feel like I'm on I don't know. It's a thing I've thought about for a while, but I kind of feel like at some point in the future, I'll probably leave the job. When I do, I don't think I'm going anywhere else. I think I'm going to do this stay-at-home dad thing. And So I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's moving in that direction. I don't know.
Huh. It's like you're watching it happen.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know. I just think, I mean, it's especially, with like the new kid, Olivia will need more help with stuff at home. And
That's right. You got number 3 fixing to be here. Let's talk about this idea of this is what seems to be happening rather than this is what I want.
Yeah.
I've recorded 3 or 4 meditations this morning. One of those we just did was the Taoist meditation. And for the 12th step. And this idea, I started to see it in meditation where, separating myself from my thoughts, then from my body, then from my feelings and my emotions, realizing none of those things were really me. I was what was experiencing those things. I was not those things. Michael Singer talks a lot about that in his books. And being the observer, like you were talking about, like this just seems to be what's happening. Like this is where I'm floating to. So I guess I'll just continue to go,
Yeah. It's a little bit of a weird feeling because even if you accept it, there's a lot of it definitely doesn't fit like the conventional wisdom of this is not how America works.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to
set a goal and then we work to make that goal happen.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta go out there and get it done.
It's up to me, but it's so freeing. And I talked about that a little bit in one of the meditations when, I have several practices that we do to kind of get into the flow. And one of those is allowing gravity, observing how gravity's pulling your body into the chair and how you can make just some little tweaks and stop trying to control how your hands rest or how your legs rest and just let gravity do the work instead, and how you can let these little bits of control go, and it brings you to this whole nother level of relaxation. That teaches me in other parts of my life to do the same thing. And we see that idea of being the observer in a lot more than just meditation or in the Tao. We see that in the Book of Thomas talks about that. Jesus, one of the sayings in the Book of Thomas, Jesus says, "Learn to be the observer."
Yeah, I don't know. I probably should. I don't know if I've read that one. I probably should read it at some point.
Hey, let's just read it. Let's read it one week. Talk about it. I'll send it to you, and we'll talk about it. But it's got several good quotes. Several good ones, but being the observer is one of the really good ones.
I did this observing notion, we've talked about fear before, and I can't remember what I read. I don't know. I was listening to somebody talk about it. I can't remember what it was on. Anyway, they're talking about using fear, so they were like, if you can observe when you're like basically what they were, we've talked a lot about, fear, almost like fear is the enemy. You've got to get rid of fear.
Right.
Or something, but they were saying how if you pay attention to it, you can actually use fear to your advantage. If you notice that you're afraid, then a lot of times there's a reason you're afraid. Sometimes that's the direction you're supposed to be going in, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but there's a difference between that danger, Will Robinson kind of thing, and crippling fear that causes you to make decisions that are fear-based decisions. Like for me, I ride a motorcycle a lot. I always put on my helmet, and I normally put on all of my gear. I normally do not ride without Kevlar and boots and gloves and all the stuff. I've had 2 accidents. One was local, most accidents are within 2 miles of the house or whatever. That really is true. and the other one was out west. But, I put on my stuff not because I'm afraid of having an accident, but it's because it's just smart thing to do.
Yeah.
It does cause me to make some decisions. I mean, the concern of danger causes me to make decisions, but I don't get on my bike and then I'm afraid around every corner someone's going to hit me. I don't have this crippling fear that affects the way I ride. So I don't know. It definitely does help us to make decisions. I guess the being cognitive of being aware of danger does, but still don't think I have to really be afraid, though. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was necessarily. I know what it was. I'm not. I started listening to it the other day. See if I can get the guy's name right. It's the guy's name is Stephen Pressfield. It's The War of Art, I believe is the name of the book.
How the fuck did you get onto that?
I don't know. I really don't know. It was probably just an Amazon recommendation, honestly.
Oh, okay.
But well, you might like it. I mean, he talks about like art, but he's like it could really be any creative pursuit. He was like it could be it could be art, it could be business, it could be anything. But he talks about this idea of like in the Letting Go book, he talks about resistance, and so in this book, the War of Art, he basically, that's his main thing, is like all of the ways that resistance works. And it's
really,
yeah, it's kind of
I really like that. Yeah, how long is it? A long book?
No, it's a couple hours on Audible.
I just used my Audible credit this morning. I downloaded the 3 Pillars of Zen, and it's like 150 hours. I mean, it's like a long. It's let's see, it was in 2 parts, 14 hours, so it's a lot. But
yeah,
I'll let you know how that goes. But I would like to hear that if he's talking about resistance, because I think resistance is huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it would fit a lot of this stuff we're talking about. I'm not sure how it fits the motorcycle analogy, but like for instance, like, like some of your, your business stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you have some crazy idea of like, okay, I'm going to start this business or that business. And maybe it doesn't seem like, the most practical thing or whatever. And so, like, fear would start telling you things like, well, you can't do it because of this reason and that reason, the other reason, and it's, so what he was saying is like sometimes, I think this is what he was saying. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off, but like sometimes if you can be aware of like how afraid you are of that, sometimes that can be an indicator of like if you're going in the right direction or not. You know what I mean?
So the more afraid you are, the better.
Sometimes, I guess.
That's funny. Yeah, I would like to hear that, because I think resistance is probably one of my biggest issues, and still is, because I don't keep me from opening my heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was it. I was just.
I had an experience the other day that you'll like. I was meditating, and we have some feral cats in the neighborhood, and I was out on my screen porch because it's getting warmer in the morning. So I was out meditating, enjoying the outside. They started fighting right behind me, like, 50 feet from me. And instead of fighting the sound, I said, I'm going to get to meditate with the cats today. So I was meditating with the sound instead of pushing against it, instead of resisting it, right? And then I have a friend right now that we're having a little conflict, and I'm having to pray for him a little bit because I had a little resentment. And so I've been praying for him every day to get over this resentment and sending love and all those things. And I just thought while I was meditating, I said, I wonder if I can meditate with my friend's anger like I'm meditating with these. Can I be with his anger just like I can be with this, what would be a noise?
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little lift from the whole situation. It was amazing. It lowered my resistance a little bit to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was excited about that. I meant to mention it when we were together the other day with everyone, but I didn't. But yeah, that's just amazing how if you decide to be with something instead of against it.
Yeah, there's something about, even stuff like that, just allowing enough room for it to be there, that eases the pressure of, well, I've got to get rid of this. Or
I shouldn't be feeling this way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm spiritual. I shouldn't have anger against this person because they disagree with me,
Right.
because I think they're treating me unfairly, How dare them treat me unfairly?
Yeah.
Who do they think they are, Ugh. But you know what else I decided to with that? I don't know where I heard this, but it was this idea. Oh, I know where it was. It was in the Love is Letting Go of Fear book, Jampowski.
Okay.
About when you have a situation that's unacceptable to you, not only giving them permission to do that or accepting them, but taking it as far as not changing them, even if you could.
Yeah.
And I thought about it like our page 552 on resentment, where it says that if we're resentful, that if we pray for someone for 2 weeks, even if it's empty words and we don't mean it, we do it anyway, and then we'll grow to mean it.
Yeah.
I thought, what if I do that same thing with something like my friend's anger? Give him permission to be angry. Then, like if it was, the whole spectrum would be like if I gave someone the right to be wrong, instead of taking their right to be wrong, me being angry because I think they're wrong, giving them permission to be wrong. And then you're number one, and I do that during the day, give 5 people permission or 10, and say, you're number 3, you're number 4, as if they need my permission.
Yeah.
And then move from that to you have the right to your own opinion.
Yeah.
And then move from that to I would not change your opinion even if I could.
Yeah.
I mean, those levels of acceptance are just getting bigger and bigger, even if I don't mean. So in meditation and prayer, I started saying, I send love to this person. I would not change them even if I could. They can be anything they want to be, and I'll accept them as they are. When inside I was really meaning the opposite, and I was just, I don't really mean that, but I was saying it anyway.
Yeah.
And it started giving me peace right off from the start. Wonder why that works that way.
I don't know. I mean, as far as like the permission to be right thing, and then so there's it does make sense as a practice, like you can, like how would go from that to, like I wouldn't change your opinion even if I could, I mean, I think that the root of that, the reason that that's true, the reason it works is just basic humility. It's the acknowledgement that, what, I don't have all of the information, nor is it possible for me to have all of the information. And even if I could, I don't know if I could put it together into something that was right,
Yeah.
It's just, it's humility, like I don't have all the answers.
It's the powerlessness that leaves room for the answer,
Yeah. And, if I don't have all the answers, maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, generic you, somebody.
I know what you mean. I knew you didn't.
No, you, buddy.
Well, see, that's where the gift is, Zach, is that we don't have to have the answers. I used to think I had to have the answers for everything. And if I didn't, I had to make something. I mean, I'd ask my father a question, and he always had the answer. It was like I was 18 or 19 before I heard him say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong. I'm like, you don't know? What do you mean you don't know? Because he always had the answer. Any question I had.
Yeah.
Real smart guy,
I'm trying to set the bar really low for my kids. Every time they ask me anything, even if I do know, I just tell them I don't know. Like you're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's good. You want to study a chapter today, or what do you want?
Yeah, we can look at it.
Where are we at?
It's a good question.
We're on 51.
There's a lot of chapters. I feel like we should get like a diploma when we get through with it or something.
We can make one up. Maybe get Dr. Totten to do us a Tao diploma.
Yeah.
Oh, they came out with a new episode this week. Wasn't bad. Did you listen?
I haven't heard it yet. Honestly, I've been, I don't know. There's something about the coronavirus stuff. I kind of like, I don't know. I just checked out of a lot of podcasts I was listening to. Like, not out of depression or anything. I don't know. It just didn't seem interesting. Like, how are you dealing with the coronavirus? How's everybody dealing with the coronavirus? Like, I mean, just sitting at home doing nothing, except for a few logistical things. The coronavirus has been pretty normal for me.
Yeah, I have some friends. I had a sponsee that was really angry that didn't believe that it was real, all those things. And I said,
I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. I said, but how many people do you know that's died of the flu?
Yeah.
He said, no one. I said, how many people do you know that's died of the coronavirus? I said, I have a good friend that died of the coronavirus that I will not be eating breakfast with on Wednesday mornings now. One of my Christian friends. And I said, he was 65. He had a little bit of bronchial problems, but he was otherwise healthy, worked every day. I mean, slim. I mean, took care of himself. Chiropractor. He was a retired chiropractor.
Mm.
I mean, he knew how to eat. I mean, he was a healthy guy. But he died. I said, I know other people. I know a guy, you're younger than me, that's still sick from it on a ventilator. They don't know if he's going to live or not.
Yeah.
So, it's real.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a real thing.
But it's hard, though, when you don't have people, something you can't touch or see or doesn't physically show. It's hard to get your head around that it's really happening.
Yeah, well, and then even if it's like really happening, I think some of the stuff people question is like not even like, is it a real sickness or not? But like, like, is it natural? Everybody's like, is it man-made or is it was it a war weapon or, and all of these things. And I don't even know like how to think about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like what if it is? What if it is a biological weapon that the government produced? What am I going to do?
Right. It's more waste of, I told my friend, I said, my sponsee, I said, you can protest all you want. I said, but you can do that from love instead of anger. I said, you don't have to be angry. I said, anger is a weakness. I said, your anger is not going to help you. I said, it's going to hinder you. Are you ever happy when you're angry? He said, no. I said, well, then choose not to be angry about it. I said, come at it from a different perspective. Don't move your level of consciousness up like we talked about with Hawkins and letting go.
Yeah.
Move your level of consciousness up to love and concern and acceptance and protest from there. Don't protest out of anger, out of fear. That's another fear. I say out of fear of losing everything, But anyway, it's I'm excited to see, God's taking care of me. I can look at gratitude and see all the ways I've been taken care of all these years. I've been in situations, I've been through a bankruptcy, I've been through business failure in years past, I've been through divorce, I've been through all kinds of things, and I've always seen God there to take care. Somehow I've been provided for. Even when I was drinking, I had money to buy liquor every week. I never lost, I always had what I needed when I needed it. So why do I not think it's going to be the same now? So that's just how I have to look at it. And I'm just amazed to see. I just want to see how God's going to turn this into something good. I'm just looking, and I know He's going to. That's kind of where I land on things, So
it makes me, the first thing I thought about when everybody started at the beginning of it, everybody's freaking out about having enough toilet paper, And I was like, man, somebody should really like rewrite that verse in the Bible that talks about the birds of the field, not not worrying about what they're going to wear, what they're going to eat,
What they're going to wipe their ass with.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a good one. You want to read? Let's just read one of these four. How about the Stephen Mitchell? That seems like that's the one I've got marked up the most, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
You want to read or you want me to?
I can read it. That's fine.
All right.
Every being in the universe is an expression of the Tao. It springs into existence, unconscious, perfect, free, takes on a physical body, lets circumstances complete it. That is why every being spontaneously honors the Tao. The Tao gives birth to all beings, nourishes them, maintains them, cares for them, comforts them, protects them, takes them back to itself, creating without possessing, acting without expecting, guiding without interfering. That is why love of the Tao is in the very nature of things.
Wow.
That's good.
Every being takes on a physical body. So it's as if the body is not the being.
Yeah, that's the so the first thing that makes me to think of is there's an Alan Watts quote where he talks, see if I can get it close to right, but he was like it's something along the lines of like just like the ocean waves, the universe peoples, and like it which is I think kind of what this verse is getting at, like that people are, without doing anything extra, just by existing, they are an expression of the Tao. You know what I mean? They're an expression of the natural order of things. And I think that is interesting. It kind of ties back into that, not just letting people have their own opinion that we were talking about earlier, but like not changing it if you could, Yeah.
Letting circumstances complete. Let life unfold. God is on your side. These are some of my notes from when we talked about this with the group, when we did the chapter on the 51st, on the Tao, the podcast before on the 51st chapter.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone wants to look back through our past podcasts, there's one on the 51st chapter that was done within our group. What might happen if I let go? Discover the nature of the mind by stopping my thinking. Let go of preconceptions and ideas to explain how things really are. Let go of control and find how capable people really are. Let go and be a witness or passerby and watch life unfold. How incredible is that I did not look at this before, and we just started talking about, before we opened this up, we started talking about this in the beginning without even planning it. That's part of this flow. Man, that's incredible. Yeah. Letting circumstances complete us. Just going where we're being pushed, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if the Jonathan Starr translation has anything to add. I haven't read it yet. I'm just going to read it. The Tao gives all things life. Day gives them fulfillment. Nature is what shapes them. Living is what brings them to completion. Every creature honors Tao and worships Day, not by force, but through its own living and breathing. Though Tao gives life to all things, Day is what cultivates them. Day is that magic power that raises and rears them, completes and prepares them, comforts and protects them. To create without owning, to give without expecting, to fill without claiming. This is the profound action of Tao and the highest expression of Day. I've never heard a good definition of Day. The Tao Te Ching, Te, and we hear it talked about as being virtue, and Tao being the path, and Day being the actual nature of God. Right? Is that kind of the idea? That's what I understand.
Yeah, I think of it as, and I don't know if this is off or anywhere close. I kind of think of it as like, if the Tao is a path, day is the walking of the path.
Yeah.
It's the way, it's the motion or the action of, or, in Tao terms, the effortless action of
the effortless part of the effort.
Yeah. It's the,
right.
it's the movement of the thing, the Tao. You want to, you want to read Mitchell's commentary real quick?
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Well, I haven't read it, but he's got a little bit more than his usual one-liner here, so we'll see what he says.
All right.
Chapter 51, spontaneously honors the Tao. Honoring the Tao means respecting the way things are. There's a wonderful Japanese story adapted here from A Flower Does Not Talk by someone that I can't pronounce. Excuse me. Which portrays this attitude. 150 years ago, there lived a woman named Sono, whose devotion and purity of heart were respected far and wide. One day, a fellow Buddhist, having made a long trip to see her, asked, "What can I do to put my heart at rest?" She said, "Every morning and every evening, and whenever anything happens to you, keep on saying, 'Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever.'" The man did as he was instructed for a whole year, but his heart was still not at peace. He returned to Sono, crestfallen. "I've said your prayer over and over, and yet nothing in my life has changed. I'm still the same selfish person as before. What should I do now?" Sono immediately said, "Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever." On hearing these words, the man was able to open his spiritual eye and return home with a great joy. So, I wonder what that means.
Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Well, it's not about himself. All is as it should be. Acceptance. Just what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, being thankful that he has no complaint, even though there's things he could complain about.
Yeah, well, so I'm just thinking about this. I don't know. So the guy in the story goes to see the sage, goes to see the lady about, he's not satisfied with his life, right? He wants it to be a different way.
How can I put my heart at rest is his question.
Yeah, exactly. So he's looking for some kind of peace.
Yeah.
He goes and sees the lady, and the lady gives him something to do. She says, here's the prayer. Repeat this, at the morning and night, anytime something happens, here's the thing to do. And so
whenever anything happens, not just good or bad, anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so he does it for a year, and he says he's not changed. He does it, and it doesn't work. So he says. So he goes back to see her, and she says the same prayer to him, but not, I think this time when he goes back to her, she doesn't tell him to say this. It sounds like she's saying it for herself.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I missed that. Okay.
She immediately said to him, in other words, at the end, he is the thing that is happening to her. And so she says, "Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever." And so I could be wrong. I don't know that this is what it's getting at, but like at the end, it's so his spiritual eye is opened. It's like this level of acceptance with him not being okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so he starts out at, without peace. And then he was like, I can be okay not having peace. You know what I mean? Like, or it's the everything is as it should be. You know what I mean? Like it is paradoxical. It's not like a thing that makes immediate sense, like my lack of peace is the way that it's supposed to be. A peace in not peace.
His peace comes in acceptance, not in changing his circumstances.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's why I say it's.
Yeah. Well, it's all paradoxical. Every truth I've ever heard is a paradox. I've never heard a truth that was not a paradox, really, because it works against my natural inclination to do for me. How do I stay sober? By helping someone else? That doesn't make sense. I should spend all that time helping me. How is it that me going and helping someone else helps me with my alcoholism? Makes no sense. Same kind of deal. Why would me accepting things that I think are unacceptable make me happy?
Yeah.
But it says, thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. When what I want to do is really complain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's acting his way into right thinking is what he's doing, right? To use another recovery phrase.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's acting his way into right thinking. He's, instead of thinking his way into right acting, instead of letting his actions be dictated by his thoughts, he's changing his actions. He's saying something different than what he's thinking.
Yeah.
He's not his thinking. He's whatever is observing his thinking. Huh. That's good. That's that same thing with the feral cats and the anger that I'm giving my friend permission to have. Thanks for this. Thanks for this anger. Everything is wonderful. I have no complaint whatsoever,
Yeah. Thanks for everything. I feel like that was in the Bible somewhere.
Do what?
I feel like that was in the Bible somewhere. Everything, give thanks. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. In everything, give thanks, and give thanks for it's several places. I'm going to find it for you real quick.
What are you finding for me?
The Bible quote on this. I'm going to be meeting with my Christian friends again soon, and so I'm going to have to get my YouVersion back out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when they're going to be meeting again. That we meet every Wednesday and have for years and years, and we stopped during Corona. They're all in their 70s. Well, now the only ones alive are in their 70s. We had one in their 60s, and he died. He's the one that died.
Yeah.
The rest are in their 70s, but they don't like giving thanks for everything because they think their faith changes their life, and they get a lot of fear and they get a lot of condemnation about their life not being perfect. They think it's their fault.
Well, and that's where some of that, allowing things to be as they are, some of that stuff comes in because, like the whole humility thing, because the problem is, I believe in faith, and probably your faith could change things, I guess, but the problem is what is it going to change it to? It's going to change it to whatever your idea is of a better scenario. And what makes you think that your idea of a better scenario is any better scenario or circumstance or whatever,
I have no idea what's best for me. No idea at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I think I know, that's really when I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to have to look at it online. I've forgotten my bookmarks. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you.
Mm-hmm.
Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. In all, for all, depends on which one you read. So there's another one that says, I know specifically, give thanks for all things, but that's if people are into basing their beliefs on prepositions. Would that be a preposition? A prepositional belief?
Yeah.
Or a preposition? Is that a preposition?
Maybe.
Man, my Georgia education was so awful.
It's
for a preposition.
It's been a long time since I've had to diagram a sentence.
Let me tell you, somebody else asked it because I didn't hardly have to. Yeah, it's a preposition. Okay, good. All right. I feel a little more smart. A little more smarter.
That's good. Mission accomplished.
Yes, a little more smarter. Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. I'm going to have to put that up. I'm going to try that, Zach, this week.
All right.
Everything that happens. Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. I wonder how that's going to work with my wife. I'm going to do it this week. That's my week. This is my week for this. I'm going to post it. I'm going to put it as a reminder in my phone. It's going to pop up in front of me every freaking so often, and I'm going to see that week how that does for me.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything. What was that one we did before? That I did a Facebook post. Thank you for sharing your opinion with me. Something to do with.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good one. Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. And then she flipped it on him, and she told him, "Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever."
It's her practicing what she preached.
Her practicing it. In her practicing it to him, he saw it.
Yeah.
In a way, in her giving to him, there's something there with that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that idea of giving and sending love and sharing. Man, that's strong. Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Wow. What else do you see in this? Man, we're already. How much more time do you have?
I'm not in a hurry.
Okay. I got 10 or 15 minutes, I guess.
Whatever's good for you.
I'm sorry?
Whatever works for you.
The Tao gives birth to all beings. Oh, this idea that, first of all, letting circumstances complete, and I think we've covered that, in spite of ourselves. I have a note beside that, in spite of ourselves. Spontaneously honors the Tao. I think, aren't we all have this idea and search for God within us? Maybe is that what that might refer to? We're honoring the Tao. Is that part of that, maybe?
Yeah, I think, I mean, like, I don't, it's been so long since I've looked at some of the Bible stuff I used to study, but I mean, that's a pretty Christian idea, that all of creation will, all of creation praises God, automatically. Everything that exists, God created. You know what I mean? And this is saying the same thing, that every being in the universe is an expression of the Tao. How could a thing that the Tao created, how could a thing that God created not be the thing that he created it to be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is why every being spontaneously honors the Tao. We're doing it whether we want to or not. You know what I mean? And that there's a weird sort of comfort in that. You know what I mean? Like I legitimately don't, if there's any such thing as getting it right, I don't have to get it right. I am the thing that spontaneously sprung out of the universe. I am the thing that God created. Like, why? I
don't complete myself. My circumstances do that for me, which are all part of this flow of life. So I'm not even responsible for completing myself.
Yeah.
Huh. The Tao gives birth to all beings.
Let circumstances complete it.
Yeah. The Tao is on your side, ever expanding, working for you, nourishing and maintaining and caring and comforting and protecting, and then we're taking back to itself. The whole cycle of life, right?
It is. It is an interesting concept, because if you think about things that are like unquestionably natural, that are easy to look at and be like, this is a natural process. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at like a flower blooming or something like that, and you can look at that and be like, this flower is a perfect expression of its flowerness. It's just doing what it does. It's soaking up water, it's soaking up sun, and it's spitting out a flower. You know what I mean? And it's doing it perfectly with nothing else involved. It's not trying to be the way that it is. You know what I mean? And it is interesting because it kind of makes you wonder a little bit, like maybe, just maybe somehow, like we're really not that different. You know what I mean? Like we spend a lot of time and energy and thought on, like, we're, you know, everybody does, myself included, on figuring out like the right way to think and the right way to be. And, you know, maybe we just already are. I don't know.
I can go with that. I think that's what happens when we stop this push and we lose our, I've honestly lost my drive for business because I see the vanity in it. So I kind of see what you're talking about, that we learn to just be, right?
Yeah.
How about this idea that then at the end he starts giving us what we should look like a description: creating without possessing, acting without expecting, guiding without interfering. So possessing, not possessing, not expecting, not interfering. We can have things and things not have us.
Mm-hmm.
We can take action without attaching our expectations to those actions. That's where the peace is at. Or doing without taking credit was another. Yeah. We can humbly, that goes back to that humility you were talking about. Guiding without interfering. Let me let my daughter in. She's here. And then we'll finish up. Give me just a second. So what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That really is the essence of how we're to behave, though. We have, but we don't possess. We lower our expectations. We may offer guidance, but we don't interfere. It says, does not seek to dominate, lead people without giving them orders. I can see that. That's the secret power of the Tao, or that's the nature of things. And no one wants to be dominated. We do better when we don't possess or expect or interfere in others' lives. Yeah. Good stuff. Anything to add?
Yeah, I don't know. It has me thinking about, just like how much energy I put into like making sure that my thought process is right. You know what I mean? Like if I'm thinking about things the right way, if I'm doing things the right way, or, you know, whatever. And like, just like as a hypothetical scenario, like what if, you know, it's almost like what would you do? It's like one of those like hypothetical questions, like, okay, you know, I mean, and people get crazy with it and, you know, like logistics and stuff like that. But the point of the question is supposed to be like, what do you want? Like, what's your real true heart's desire? You know, like what would you do if you had $1 million? You know what I mean? Like what would you do? What would you be doing? What would you be, whatever, or, you know, whatever the number is nowadays, you know, $10 million. I don't know. But, you know, and like like somewhere at the heart of that question is getting to like what does perfect peace look like for you? What does perfect contentment look like for you? You know? And, so in a similar way, like this verse has me thinking, you know, like what if I already am the way that I'm supposed to be, you know? Like what if I don't have to change anything else? You know what I mean? Like the way that I am if the way that I am right now is exactly the way that I'm supposed to be, then what? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like what am I going to do with my head? What am I going to do with all of that free thought? You know what I mean? With that extra, what do you do with all that extra space that just cleared up? You know, I don't know. It's just a weird thought.
I was thinking about that. I forgot the phrase, you know, looking good, feeling good, like the show, and how the possessions and the actions and your guidance, that whole idea, that persona that we can create, that's false.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, as long as we're looking outward for that peace and joy, that $1 million is not going to bring us, or 10 million or whatever. It's not going to bring us what we're thinking it is.
Yeah.
It's not in those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and certainly it's not. But I mean, it's like, I don't know. It used to be like a different question that's the same thing is like, would you keep your job if you won the lottery? You know what I mean? Like, are you satisfied with what you're doing, with the way things are, basically?
The next question is, if you had some of those things now. Yeah.
Or like you were talking about, like we were talking about earlier, like allowing someone to have their opinion, or changing them if you could. Like that's the $1 million question. That's if you won the lottery question. The question is, would you change things if you could? Because in the question, the lottery winning, the $1 million represents the ability to change things if you could, right? And so if you could change it, would you? I don't know. And so, like, hypothetically, like if there was nothing to change, if everything, I mean, like you said 1 million times, everything is as it should be, then what are you going to do?
You're just going to be, right?
I mean, I guess it just makes me wonder, I don't know. What is that? What is just being? What is life like without, a thing that you have to make happen next?
I think it's just being available in more moments of the day. For me, that's what it seems to be, is this is what's happening, I'm participating, instead of this is what I'm making happen. This is what I'm pushing for. Okay, it's time to make the kids lunch. Okay, I go make lunch, or I can take that same action and say, oh my God, it's time for lunch again, and I've got to go. What am I going to make? They're not going to do what I want them to do. I'm going to have to fight this. I'm going to have to, it's the same action, but it can be done in 2 different ways, or a variation of that, Back to what was I've already forgot what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay. Thanks for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Thank you for not wanting to eat your breakfast, children.
It's time. Acceptance. It's time to fight with the kids about lunch.
And now it's lunch. Yeah. It's the same kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
Anything else, my friend?
I don't think so.
All right, dude. Well, have you a good week then. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that are posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery emails, and a couple of shared Google recovery calendars, one with a daily thought and the other with a Course in Miracles lesson every day. All these resources are free. I hope you're able to put some of them to use, and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share this podcast with your friends in recovery.